When I was around 5 years old, which was also the same time I began having hypnopompic and hypnagogic episodes, my parents divorced and my brothers and I went to live with my dad and our grandparents. My dad and his brother are identical twins, and my cousin was living there too, since her father was also going through a divorce. The first recurring dream I had repeated exactly the same over 4 nights. The dream was always the same. I was in a car with my two younger brothers and my cousin. All of us kids were in the back seat while my father drove the car, and my uncle was in the front passenger seat. It was night time and we were driving along a road that took us over many tall hills and then down into deep ravines. At the top of one of the hills was a gas station where my father pulled in, and both him and my uncle got out to go into the store. All of a sudden, the car began rolling down the hill and speeding towards the bottom of the next ravine. My cousin and I tried to reach over the front seat to gain control of the steering wheel, but we could never get the car to stop. The dream always ended before we hit the bottom. The second recurring dream stayed with me for years, right through until I was a teenager. In the dream, I was always going outside into my grandparents' garden and searching for my mountain, which was at the side of the house. I could see the tall mountain over the fence, but I could never get to it due to the fence or other obstructions. The yearning for that mountain was powerful, and it haunted me for years after we moved out of my grandparents' house.
These two dreams, occurring together at age 5 during such a massive familial upheaval, are incredibly profound. From a Jungian perspective, when a child experiences intense, recurring dreams alongside hypnagogic and hypnopompic states, the liminal space between waking and sleeping, the unconscious isn't just processing daily stress, it is actively trying to construct a psychological defense system to protect the budding ego. Let's break them down by looking at the archetypes, the architecture of your childhood mind, and how these two dreams actually balance one another out. Dream 1. The driverless car and the twin fathers, hills and ravines, the cyclical psyche, moving rapidly up tall hills and down into deep ravines, perfectly mirrors the emotional volatility of a child experiencing a family breakdown. In Jungian thought, a ravine or valley represents a descent into the unconscious, the deep, dark emotional waters of fear, abandonment, and helplessness. The twin guides, the fractured masculine archetype. Your father and his twin uncle riding in the front seat represents a fascinating duplication. Twins in mythology and Jungian psychology often symbolize dual aspects of a single archetype or a collective pattern. Because both men were going through a divorce simultaneously, the father archetype, which is supposed to represent order, structure, protection, and direction in the outer world, was doubly compromised. They were facing the exact same structural collapse. The deserted wheel. When both men step out of the car at the top of the hill, the peak of tension, they leave the vehicle of the family unit without leadership. The car, rolling down into the ravine, is a classic Jungian motif for a loss of conscious control. The collective situation takes over, propelled by gravity, the weight of the unexpressed emotional reality. The alliance of the feminine. You and your female cousin, the same age, both caught in the crossfire of their parents' divorces, are the ones who try to reach over the seat to take the wheel. This is the very first stirring of your conscious ego attempting to claim agency. Even though you couldn't stop the car, the impulse to reach forward shows an early activation of your inner strength and the instinct to protect the younger children, your brothers. The unfinished fall, the dream ending before you hit the bottom, is a psychological mercy. The psyche of a 5-year-old cannot fully integrate the crash of a broken home, so the unconscious suspends the fall, leaving you in the tension of the descent rather than forcing you to process the impact all at once. Dream 2. The yearning for the mountain. The mountain is one of the most powerful archetypal symbols of the self, the ultimate blueprint of your wholeness, individuality, and spiritual core. The mountain as a spiritual anchor. At age 5, your outer world was fracturing due to your parents' divorce and the relocation to your grandparents' house. When the external landscape becomes unstable, the unconscious often projects a symbol of absolute permanence, weight, and timelessness, a mountain. It was your mountain because your psyche knew, even then, that your true center of gravity had to be found internally, not externally. The obstruction, the fence, the powerful yearning combined with the inability to reach it speaks to the limitations of a 5-year-old's ego. You could see your inherent wholeness and destiny, the mountain, but the personal and collective circumstances, symbolized by the fence and the physical boundaries of the grandparents' property, kept it just out of reach. The fact that this yearning repeated for years after moving away suggests that the search for this stable, internal axis mundi, the center of the world, became a core theme of your psychological journey. The dialogue between both dreams. When looked at together, these dreams are a beautiful, bittersweet tapestry. The car dream captured the terrifying, out-of-control momentum of your changing external world, where the adults who were supposed to be driving had stepped away to attend to their own crises. But the mountain dream was the antidote. It stood perfectly still, representing a deep, instinctual promise from your own psyche. No matter how chaotic the descent into the ravine feels right now, your mountain is still there, waiting for you to grow into the strength needed to climb it. In the Jungian tradition, integration isn't about solving these dreams like a puzzle to be put away. It is about keeping a living dialogue open with those symbols.